for Common Man. Common man, charms the housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot? Where'd we play? Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Oh, boy. Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello? You like that? You like that? How do you like me now? How do you like me now? You know, sometimes when you practice, you'll set up chairs. You know, and you run through chairs just to show zones and stuff. The Viking defense looks like it's chairs.
Well, I read the USA Today and I read the New York Times, and I read those both every day. And I listen to music. I wouldn't really. I mean, it wouldn't do me any good to listen to talk shows, because what's great about America, everybody has an opinion. You know what I mean? But what's also great about America, you don't have to listen to them, and that's the great part.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Timberwolves superfan, KFAN Stan Barrero.
How do you like me now?
Do you believe in miracles? Yes, I do!
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. We're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
Is wearing women's underwear part of your turnout?
Yeah, baby.
There may be skullduggery ahead.
Talk about guys stealing from 1 to 3. You ought to pay that station to be on there.
I'm a fraud.
Yes. And he laughs about
back to the spotlight,
perpetrating the fraud.
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the north. This is the common man, Dan Cole.
Dad, cold, dead, rigor mortis laden. I got a question for you, Tenneby. You every day, right about 1 o'clock, you hit me with 5 questions. Well, actually, 3 of us sounds like more than 4. Of the major men's 4, Minnesota Twins, Minnesota Timberwolves, Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota Wild, which team do you think has the best chance to win a world championship? Hold on before you answer. Let me do it for you. You ready for this? It'll take a while to think about it, isn't it? Let me guess. Jolly Green Giant will go with the team led by Kirill.
Kaprizov.
Or will you go with, you know what we just call them now? Q-dubs.
Q-dubs?
Yeah. Well, instead of quarterback whisperer, that's too long. We just call KOC Q-dubs. So, you know, whisper with stars with W. So we just call them Q-dubs. A lot of people call them KOC. We call them Q-dubs. You going with Kirill
Kaprizov
or Q-dubs? Or maybe you think the Wolves are going to turn this thing
by process of elimination, I'm going to eliminate the Twins.
Okay.
I don't imagine them in free agency going out and spending big money.
You don't think so? You're probably right. I think that's probably spot on.
A month from now, we might be saying the Wolves.
Right.
I mean, because they out of all the teams before this season, they appeared to be the one that was closest. They still have one of the best, potentially one of the best players in basketball on their team.
He pouts a lot. He swears a lot.
But chemistry seems to be a little bit off.
Shoots a lot.
So I think it's got to go down to Wild and Vikings.
Well, can I throw this in there? What if they trade for Jimmy Buckets? Does that change your mind? What if they reacquire Bodega Cat? Does that change your mind? But anyway.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. So
I would probably I probably would lean Vikings.
Wait, hold on. It's time for the murmur.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Above average at that.
I think I know your reason. It's probably the same as mine, but go ahead.
Well, I just, in the NFL, you got to win. It's going to be 4 games for them.
That's it.
I guess potentially they could get to a bye and it's 3 games. They do have a coaching staff that I do trust, both on the offensive side, defensive side of the ball, that when you're trying to figure out the crossword puzzle of a playoff game, like I actually have confidence in and coaching matters more in football than it does in hockey.
Yep.
So I feel like whatever opponent we're up against, our coaching staff can match or best them.
Really? Okay.
So, and is there some team out there right now in the NFL that like we're scared of? I wouldn't say we're scared of anyone, that, hey, we can't compete with that team no matter what. So I think just because, we've seen the Wild experience in the past of one and dones in the playoffs, and maybe their defensemen, while great in the regular season, aren't cut out for postseason type of style of play. I'm going to go with the purple.
Am I, this is truly a Wing It Wednesday. I didn't look at a thing today. I had other things I had to do.
No, really? You didn't?
Well, often, no, I actually, I have a little note page where I take a look at them, but today I didn't. I was taking care of some, maybe I shouldn't admit this working at the All Sports Station, but I pay more attention and work harder for my clients / endorsements than I do for the program, which I think is smart. Oh. Which is why I do well in that category. Go ahead. I'll do it for you. But, so I didn't see, I know the Wild won in a shootout, correct? Was it 5-4 was the final?
They scored in the last minute of the game to force overtime.
Seriously? Well, as I was watching, as I like to do, I will check on my phone to see what the scores. The scoreboard was all screwed up early. Was Utah ever ahead 2-0?
They were up 1-0.
Yeah. So
technically they were up 2-0, but then the goal got reviewed for offsides.
Okay, because it put up 2-0, and then I looked back later and it was like 1-1. I thought, well, what happened there? Okay,
that's what happened.
And so another win. I also saw early, even though the Wild had 2 goals, Kaprizov had nothing, but I saw he scored a goal last night, right? He eventually did. Did he
didn't get the first one. I thought he had the second one.
No, I said I didn't. When they were 2-0, I thought when they had 2 goals, he hadn't scored yet, but maybe he did.
He scored early on. He didn't get the first one. No,
okay.
that was Susan Dina. But I thought Kaprizov got the second one.
Okay. And again, and I looked at the standings. I was able to do that, and I see again we're tied with Winnipeg, but we have 2 games in hand. Is that correct?
We're coming.
I know we've played less games.
That's what I'm saying. I think we got 2 in hand. I think we have 2 games in hand on the Winnipeg Jets. So it's looking up for your soon-to-be.
Technically, Washington's the team that could even us, though, because they're 2 points behind us, but they've played 1 less than us.
Okay.
So if they won their next game, then we'd be tied with them.
Look, we know the season's not ending tomorrow, so it's that where they exactly are right now in the standings probably, and how many points you have in this and that, probably isn't as important as just how are you playing. You're winning a lot of games and you're collecting points, so that's all good because as we know, things can change in a real hurry. And being the top seed is nice, but there's no guarantee of anything as we've seen over the years in all the sports, right? I think everybody would rather be the top seed, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee you any success. I don't think we've talked enough about Sam Darnold on this radio station. I haven't heard much about him and about how he's been performing. Has he been good this year, Tennessee? I've got a number of emails regarding, we dug into the topic a couple of weeks ago, actually, and I think it's really because of his performance this past weekend when he threw for 5 tutties, had almost a perfect quarterback rating. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about, do we keep Sam Darnold on? That was something you and I had been talking about for quite some time now. As a matter of fact, we've even had a little fun with tongue-in-cheek, though I'm getting emails from people that I think are serious about the idea of just use a quarterback for a year, bring in some underachieving, mediocre, high draft pick quarterback. I don't even know if it has to be a draft pick. Bring him in and let KOC mold him and meld him, almost like KOC almost seems to be like the Michelangelo of quarterbacks, right? Where he can just take, Michelangelo was famous for making sculptures. You just take a piece of granite or whatever they use to make their sculptures, and you just get a little chisel and a hammer and tink, 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 tink. And the next thing you know, you've got a bust of David. And you're like, how did you do that? And that's the kind of credit that Q-Dubs is getting right now. That it's the old, you've heard me use this line before in regards to myself, though, if I don't, who will? But from the old Mary Tyler Moore show, who can take a nothing day and suddenly make it all seem worthwhile? Who can take a nothing quarterback and suddenly make him MVP worthwhile? And it seems to be Q-Dubs. I've done it a little sarcastically because I'm not completely convinced it's all Q-Dubs, right? I think certainly he deserves much of the credit. But the guy throwing the ball, the guy scrambling, the guy moving around the pocket, the guy out on the field, I think he deserves, I've always thought that in boxing, same thing. You can have a great trainer. There have been some wonderful trainers over the years, Ray Arcel, Angelo Dundee, and that could go on and on. But it's the guy spinning it, to me, that deserves the most credit. And then you can't take away your bookend tackles and your wide receivers and your running backs. So to me, it's all right now it is a well-oiled machine right now between in that Viking offense for the most part. So it's going well for them, and let's hope it continues. Because I tend to agree with you, Tenneby. I think and especially when you talked about you only have to win one game. It's not a best of 7. The best of 7 generally, I would think, and I'm not going to sit and break down every best of 7 that's ever been played in the history of sports, but I would bet the team with the better record, the team with the higher seed generally wins those, because it's hard to one game. You just need to get on a roll for 3-4 games like the Giants did back in the was that the Tyree catch on the side of his head? Was that guy's name?
Yes.
That was a
David
9.
Tyree.
Yeah, that was a 9-7 Giants team that beat an undefeated New England team, so it can happen. We'll break. We'll come back. We got plenty more to get to here on the Common Man program on the Fan. Sammy Davis Jr.
Stick around following every noon Vikings game this season for Vikings Overtime, hosted by Meat Sauce. Presented by Park Chrysler Jeep in Burnsville. Catch them all right here on KFAN and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Before we go any further, Tenneby, with our Peek at the Purple brought to you by Affordable Electric, can you call my phone?
Misplaced it again?
Yeah, I have no idea where it is. Yeah, I don't think it's lost. I think it's misplaced. It's either here in the performance studio in Abbott's office, or it could be right behind you in the studio. Because I was talking to this isn't
not
good.
in your room.
No, this isn't good. All my prep work, everything in my whole life is on that phone, and I don't know where it is. Okay. I'm going to have to go run around during the next break. Now I'm really going to be thrown for a loop, but that's all right. We'll figure it out. You know what I was told? By the way, before we get to, do you have anything Viking related? Because I had something on my phone.
Well, I texted it to you, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So let's go ahead and do this. Why not?
I can do it.
Well, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. It's called Peek at the Purple, brought to you by Affordable Electric. Remember, 24-hour or same-day service, and they will not start any work until they give you an estimate. Affordable Electric, shockingly affordable. What do you got for the Peek at the Purple today, Kennedy?
Sam Darnold is the NFC Offensive Player of the Week after becoming the first Vikings quarterback since Dante Culpepper in 2004 to throw 5 touchdown passes in a game. It's the second time he's won Offensive Player of the Week honors in his career. I also thought I saw, I'd have to look up the Ben Gessling tweet, that he's 12 touchdowns away. And now that would be hard over a 4-game stretch here to get 12, but he's 12 games away from the all-time single-season record for the Vikings.
Seriously?
That's Dante Culpepper, I believe, at 39 touchdown passes.
I wonder how many times, I don't think when Sir Francis Tarkenton played, they were doing NFL, because NFL or NFC player. Maybe they were. I don't know how long they've been doing their Player of the Week honors. I wonder how many Viking quarterbacks have actually achieved that. I'm sure Cousins probably did it on an occasion or two. Culpepper. Favre, I would think, during his...
Cunningham,
yeah, I would think a few times it's happened. But more Sam Darnold news is what it is. Somebody sent this. Ryan from Michigan, a frequent text messenger and avid listener on the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line, says, Common, in all seriousness, because he adds in all seriousness, because he knows for the most part this is nonstop nonsense, tomfoolery, and skullduggery. But he says, don't you think how the boys in the locker room feel has a big impact on the Darnold dilemma? They love him. That might leave some unintended consequences if we just let him walk and things don't go well. Certainly could. It's one of the chances you take, though. I think all of these players at this stage of their lives know it's all business, man. It's the old, I used to say it in the radio business. I came up with a phrase, God today, gone tomorrow, right? I mean, it's like, you look at Towns, for instance. I mean, a cornerstone of this franchise since the day he was drafted. He spent, 7, 8 years or 10, whatever it was. And then 2, 3 days before the season starts, you're gone. Everything was about you in this town as far as the basketball team goes. Had other people come in and out, but it was basically about Big Meow. And then he's just gone. So, yeah, I mean, that is always a consideration. And look, it's still, and we've talked about this so much, that I still think it's too early to make any etched in stone declarative statement or decision on whether we keep Sam Darnold. If the season had ended today and that was it, you'd say, boy, you have to really consider it, because all teams, it seems like you're trying to get that franchise quarterback. That's what you're trying to do. And then when you have a guy perform the way he has, and you say, it's probably not a fluke either, because unlike a Nick Foles or a Case Keenum, guys that were drafted, who knows when, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, whatever, this was a guy that was highly regarded when he was drafted. He was the 3rd overall pick. There was a reason he was a 3rd overall pick, and now he is performing like one. And for what we've talked about it as what's that old, is it called ad nauseum, where we talked about what are the reasons why. Is it just him? Is it the right situation? Is it the players around him? Is it KOC? Is it their quarterback's coach, McCown? Is it the age of Aquarius, Moon, and 7th house? I don't know, but you certainly have to consider it. I said this yesterday, I believe, and I maybe have said it a couple times. The one thing that I think that you have to keep in mind is you hope Q-Dubs, it doesn't start going to his head, right? And you go, I can get this out of McCarthy. That's why and maybe he can, because McCarthy, they drafted him for a reason. I mean, would he have been their very first choice had they had the number 1 overall pick? I doubt it. It probably would have been the Caleb Williams character, but I don't know that. I don't know where he was on that pecking order for the Vikings. I don't think we'll ever know, right, exactly where he was of those 5 guys that were drafted. But if you start thinking, hey, Darnold's really good and he's everything everybody wanted out of a quarterback, but guess what? He's going to want big money. We don't want to spend the big money. I can do the same thing with McCarthy. Well, what if you don't, though? I mean, how bad would it be as if Darnold, we make the playoffs, forget winning the whole thing. Let's just say a nice run in the playoffs, lose, maybe even get to the NFC Championship game. Get wherever we get to without. I mean, if you win the Super Bowl, it's a no-brainer, right? If he's brilliant, would you have to sign him or not? Or would you say, well, we got our ring now we can go to another? See, that's what I understand the wanting to have the guy under the rookie contract. You and I have sort of come to the conclusion that's one of the best ways to build a team, if you can pull it off. That means you have to have a really good defense and a lot of other things going your way. But, well, you could outsmart yourself, too.
Well,
to let Darnold go, and then he goes somewhere else, and he's brilliant there, and he leads a team to a Super Bowl or something, and McCarthy ends up being a bust. Then all of a sudden, it's like, boy, you sure outsmarted yourself there, Q-Dubs, right?
My response to was it a texter? You said that, hey, the players love Sam Darnold. Yeah. You can't let him go because they love him.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say, one, do we know how they feel about J.J. McCarthy? They might feel the same way about J.J. McCarthy. We don't know just because we haven't seen it. And 2, I think they love Kirk Cousins, right? I saw video of Kirk Cousins after the game. He was mic'd up, going through the line. There was a line of Vikings that wanted to say, hey, great to see you. Like Jordan Addison and J.J. were both like, hey, you did so much for my career. Thanks you. Well, I'll always remember that. Appreciate. Like, they all loved Kirk Cousins, and they moved on from Kirk Cousins, and everything is okay with Sam Darnold.
That's correct. I think everybody in that locker room was in love with Bodega Cat. And look at how that team is Oh, wait. Okay, well, all right. Well, there's an exception to every rule, Tennessee. But yeah, I just think it's still early. I think it's white out on Monday. You know that, don't you? It's a white out Monday. Everybody's encouraged to wear white. The Vikings are unveiling their all white uniforms with the white helmets on. Have you seen them?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think that's. Did I hear that right? It's a white. Because I'm seeing.
Yes,
I've seen billboards around town.
They've done whiteouts on Christmas before.
Yeah. Have we ever had the white helmet? I don't remember it. How I missed it if it isn't new. I don't remember seeing this particular uniform and helmet before, and maybe I just missed it because I'm not paying as close attention.
I've seen it before, but I don't know if I've seen it in a game before.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I don't think I've ever seen them wear it in a game.
When it was announced that they were going to do it, I saw it, obviously.
And it does look sweet, I think. So,
yeah, this will be the first time.
Are you going to wear white on Monday to the radio station? I think I will.
I do have a white Viking sweatshirt, so maybe I can.
No, I don't have a white one. This is, if you squint your eyes, this is a light gray, like a heather gray. So maybe I could.
Should I wear white pants? I don't think I own white pants, but.
You could just paint a pair. I don't know. Let's do this. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We got more to get to. Mark Rosen will join us. 2 o'clock. 534 top of the air. Is it the head coach again about 1:15 we expect?
Yeah.
It's a Wednesday. So, we should hear from Q-Dubs coming up at 1:15. All that and more here on the Common Man program on The Fan.
Contest page and enter for your chance to win tickets to see your Minnesota Wild take on the Utah Hockey Club on January 23rd. Thanks to Custom One Exteriors, the official home partner of the Minnesota Wild. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter.
It's a couple 13-14 past. I'm Common. He's Tennessee. This is the kind of leadership we have here, or lack thereof. So during the break, I have to have that phone. All of my notes for the Grum are on my, you have a little notes page on there, and I tap in little ideas, and I save stories and such like that. I made that clear yesterday. I've done it before. So I go back there to see if when you rang the phone, did Abbott hear it ring back there? And before I can even open my mouth, he goes, why didn't you get with Tennant before the show so you didn't have to ask him all those questions on the air? I said, well, because I didn't have my phone, and so I couldn't do it. I said, I don't know where it could be. It might be in my car. And instead of going, I'll go look for it for you, he just looked away and kept doing his work. But Amanda, one of the sales associates here, she said, I'll go to your car and try to find it for you. A salesperson. Program director, who you would think he would be, is locked in and would go whatever it takes to get you back on track. I was off the rails. I've lost my phone or misplaced it. And he has no interest in helping. He just kind of looked away. He's like, well, I guess you're on your own. Don't you think he should have made the offer to go look for it? Oh, let me guess. You're on his side.
I think Chad Abbott is the greatest boss a guy could ever have.
He's special, all right.
I love having his leadership.
I went back to the Perch last night for the first time in a couple of years. It's where baby brother Peter played his basketball over at Eastridge. Pete's back in town. A couple of buddies went to go watch the game. And, man, when you don't have blood in it, it's just not the same.
Oh, sure.
It's just not the same. It was okay. Got to see the coaches, verbally slap them on the back and, see the kids and the warm-ups and the whole thing, national anthem, hand over the heart, everything like that. But I never realized how much I really miss it. I texted JG that last night, and then he texted back a picture. He was watching 8-year-old hockey last night. You're in it. You're smack dab in the middle of it.
He's coaching it, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, and you don't have to agree with me. I think you're going to. Is there anything better than watching your children play sports? I don't think there's anything. When baby brother Peter was playing basketball, there was nothing else I looked forward to more than that. Even more than golfing. That's the truth. I loved watching him play basketball.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's the very best. There's nothing better. Now, I don't know about the coaching part because I never coached. I don't know because you and I have talked about that. About when you're the dad and you're the coach, And it's like, are you harder on your kid? Not as hard on your kid? Let's say your kid is one of the... Did you find it? Amanda, thank you so much. Thank you. You care more about... Think about this. You care more about the flow of the show than Chad Abbott does, and he's the program director. And he's won trophies for it. Thank you very much. He was iHeart Program Director of the Year one time. Close circuit to Chad Abbott. That was a long time ago. What have you done for us lately? Well, I have my phone back now. But, because then you're in the position, even if you think your kid is one of the best or best players, you still feel like, well, how much do I play him? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you run into that even?
Well, we're doing even playing time at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You're just doing even playing time.
They're 9, 10, 11 years old.
Well, so. I remember when we had that first meeting. I don't think it was high school. Maybe it was 8th grade. I remember what it was. Or no, I don't even think it was. I think it was just still travel basketball. I think it was like, but once they got to like 7th grade, it was like, there's no more equal playing time anymore. They had the big parents meeting, and they basically tell you, we're going to try. We're going to get everybody's going to play. Everybody's going to play, but it ain't going to be no equal playing time anymore. We're playing now. We're at the stage where they're old enough where it's like you got to understand, the better you are,
you got to earn your playing.
You got to earn your playing time. The better you are, the more you will play, and that gets to be dicey. I think most parents, though, understand that and accept that and realize their kid has certain limitations, right? I mean, or maybe in some cases the sky's the limit and they are the best player on the team. Maybe they're one of the best players in whatever league they're in. And so then you understand why Billy gets more playing time than Bobby, right? And why Tommy gets maybe in between that. So, but it was... I
think it's challenging for parents to have a fair evaluation of their own child.
I think it is.
In many cases, not all cases, but many cases, they think their child's better than what they are. And then that can create problems.
And I think this happens too. There are some coaches that are cognizant of that. And so they actually might be harder on their own kid. You know what I'm saying? Where they go, even though they know their kid's good, they go, well, I don't want to have this impression that I think my kid's the best. And so, I'm going to be a bit more difficult on him. And I could see where that could happen too, depending upon the coach. On the parent part, you're right. Most parents think, well, my kid should be playing more than the other kid should be playing for. And, I remember when we went into high school basketball, the basic rules were, had this at the beginning of, when Pete got into varsity basketball. You have the meeting and it basically says 3 things you can't do. Can't talk about your kids' playing time, other kids' playing time, and coaching strategy, which there isn't much, that doesn't leave much else. But yeah, I mean, if you're a coach, would you want me coming up there and going, I really didn't like that line shift you did there. Have you ever thought about doing that? And then you're like, dude, I'm the coach. If you want to coach, go find a team, get a whistle, and go ahead and do it. Or the guy that says, wonder why isn't my kid playing as much? And then you put the coach in the position where he's got to go, it's because he's not any good. You know what I'm saying? Or why is Billy playing so much?
I had that my first year coaching high school, where I had a dad come up to me like a month into the season and said, hey, I've seen these guys play all the way up. If you want my input and advice on what line combination, I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, it's like, you just can't be doing that, and that would be the difficult part. But I mean, that's what they said at the beginning, and so I never did. I never talked about it. There are times you think you know when your kid's playing well and when he's not, what he should do and what he shouldn't do. Here's a text that says, played sports in middle and high school. Watching your kids doing anything is awesome in school. Hold on, I'm getting more. I got to scroll.
I wouldn't even just limit it to sports.
Right.
Like Leo had an orchestra concert the other night, right? Or we've had like preschool and like kindergarten where they're singing Christmas songs for 20 minutes, and it's just the best ever.
Okay, Snowflake. No, I'm just kidding. No, you're right. Pete and Deuce. And what's funny is like both Pete and Deuce played, Potato made him play an instrument, right? You've got to do. So Pete did trumpet. Deuce did cello. Neither one wanted to continue on with it, though. Every kid they start with and they never did. I wish they would have. Here's another one that came in. It says, Common, I totally agree with your take on watching your children play sports. I have 4 daughters, all grown now, out of the house, and boy, oh boy, what I wouldn't give to get to the soccer pitch on a beautiful Saturday morning with my cup of Mutaufi and a lawn chair and watch them play. I sure do miss it. Best time ever. I thought the exact same thing last night as I was watching them play hoops. And I was in my same spot. I used to never sit in the bleachers. I'd always up, with the track that runs around it. I like being up above and watching the game. I just think you get a better angle on it. But it's just, it's still the black and gold, but it's. And then here's one. Chad Abbott resting on his past accomplishments. Do you think Q Dubs would rest after transforming the past or not? No, he revived Sammy Darnold. See what they do. See what the people that are really dedicated and have the best interests of not only the radio station but their employees. That's the kind of thing that they like to do. Someone
did you find your phone?
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
You're the one that was wondering why I wasn't prepared, and I said my preparation's on my phone, and then instead of you volunteering to go get my phone, you just looked away, stared at your computer, and started tapping away.
And who went and got it?
Amanda, sales gal.
Unbelievable.
Well, she cares. She was one of those people that looks out for others.
Well, I mean, if you were focused on the show, you would have had notes ready to go, and you wouldn't have waited till 12 o'clock to find your phone.
I was working the trap lines. I talked to Swedberg about that today. I said I was accused once by Doug Westerman of working the trap lines. What does that mean? And then he explained it to me. And I said, I guess I did used to do that all the time. That was something I used to. Well,
I'm excited you have because I can't wait to hear how prepared you are for the next 2 hours. So thank you.
Note page. Here we go. Did you see the tweet by Lieber? Do you follow Lieber on Twitter?
I follow him. I don't know if I saw the tweet or not.
I don't follow anybody. I think you know that. But somebody sent me a screenshot of a tweet he did. And I actually talked to Ben about it, but it was basically where since Ivan Pace Jr. has been injured for 2 games, we're just a sieve giving up yards on the ground. And my question, I think I may even have touched on my back and forth with Lieber about it, and I don't know if we got into it deep, though. For me, there's a bit of concern there that if you're missing one guy and you can't stop the run, I mean, does that mean, you look at the Lions, and I always use them as an example, they got 13 guys on their defense that are on IR. Of their front 7, they only have 6 there. They're still finding a way to stop people. And I'm wondering, he said something, his response was something to the effect, well, they're deeper. Well, are they? I mean, they're going out and getting guys off the streets right now. And so I often wonder if you're missing one or two, because the Vikings are relatively healthy when you look at most teams, right? I mean, I can't think of too many players. We had Gilmore, and he should be back, right? That's what I've heard, that he should be back this week. Pace says to sit out, is it 4? Did he go IR?
Yes, he's on the IR.
So he's been out twice. He's 2 games. He's got 2 more. Other than that, can you name me another? Do we have another Viking player that's
just on defense or in general?
In general,
I mean Christian Darrisaw.
Okay, Darrisaw. Anybody else? The kicker.
JJ McCarthy doesn't count. Yeah. We had Cashman out for a couple games. I mean, it was the same argument they used when Cashman went out,
right?
And they lost the 2 games to Detroit and the Rams. They're like, well, Blake Cashman was the answer.
Yeah, there you go.
He's the guy.
And I'm not, if that is the truth, and that speaks volumes about how good cash in, cash out is, it speaks volumes of how good Ivan Pace Jr. are. But if you're that dependent on a couple of guys on your defensive line, and that when they're not, or on your defensive unit, and they're not there, you're going to start giving up lots of yardage. I kind of, that leaves some cause or pause for concern for me, that because, we all know, the Vikings have been very fortunate, and I'm not saying they're lucky because of this. I'm just saying they're being fortunate that they haven't had a lot of serious injuries other than, I guess, the Darrisaw one. The McCarthy one, but I guess it hasn't really mattered with McCarthy as far as this season's performance because we haven't needed him. Darnold's been, for the most part, has been pretty much brilliant for the most part. So
I do think that is going to be the blueprint of how to beat the Vikings defense moving forward into the playoffs, though, is power run games, specifically between the tackles running. And obviously Detroit excels there.
Yep.
If you have to face Detroit, we're going to face them at the end of the regular season and maybe in a playoff game. Philadelphia with both Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts' ability, they can do it. So I do think that's how, if they get exposed in the playoffs, it's going to be because of the power run.
Yeah, and to me, in my experience, and I played the game, both sides of the ball, the best way to wear down another team is just pound them with the running game. And if you can run effectively, you're picking up first downs. The other team's just never getting off the field, and you're just grinding out yardage. There's no better way to win a football game. I mean, I guess if you're greatest show on turf, if you happen to have that kind of an ability to just wing the ball all over, that's great. But man, being able to run the ball to me is more important than just about anything, especially playoff games, December. You have the whole thing from Tyson, such like that. We've been talking about the MVP award, right? Who would Darnold be in the conversation? I think he certainly is. Coach of the year, KOC's got to be in the conversation for that then as well, does he not? Coming off a season in which you were 7-10, in a season in which is as good as these players have been, and let's face it, we know B-Flow should get the majority of the credit here. Somebody sent a text message yesterday that said, why isn't Kwesi getting more credit for the team's accomplishments this year? And here's what I'll say. I mean, he signed the guys, and I certainly think he deserves his fair share of the credit for signing those guys. But I think, unless I'm wrong, and I wasn't in the room, and I don't know how these conversations go, it seems to me that B-Flow kind of handpicked some guys, right? And said, I'd like to get this guy, that guy, and that guy. Now, and then you still got to go out and get them. So unless it was all Kwesi just going, he identified the players and said, here's the guys I got for you, do what you can with them, I don't know. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Kwesi, but it seems like, because the Pace character is a prime example. If I remember correctly, I thought he was undrafted free agent, and what I read at the time, I could have swore I read this, and if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. That was B-Flow directly going to Kwesi and said, I like this kid, sign him. And since then, he's almost indispensable, apparently, because when he's not out there, we can't stop the run. So there's a lot of credit to be tossed around, but when you're talking about the head coach who's in charge of the whole operation, when you've taken a quarterback that was discarded by everybody else, was a backup, just with the clipboard last year, a team that has how many new starters on defense? Is it 5, 6, 7? Is it that many?
Both edge rushers, one linebacker, multiple corners.
You've got plenty of new players. Offense has basically stayed pretty much the same, other than Aaron Jones added to the mix,
and
right?
The quarterback.
But we already mentioned him. He certainly should be.
Certainly the left guard, too.
And the left guard, in the left guard. He certainly should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. But I guess I'll go back to what we've been talking about. It's about, do we sign Darnold or not to a long-term deal? I still think we've got to let this play out a little bit longer. There's still... If let's say the Vikings were to get beat by the Bears, I don't expect it to happen. Let's say they get beat by the Bears, and who do they have left after that? It's Green Bay.
At Seattle, then Green Bay at home, then at Detroit.
Okay. So let's say we lose to the Bears, lose to Seattle, beat Green Bay, and lose to Detroit. Is he still Coach of the Year? If Darnold, just plays okay in those games, is he still MVP? There's still so much to be played.
Still a quarter of the season left.
That's exactly right. And this is where I think you really earn your Coach of the Year, MVP of the Year. This is where you earn those, is when, especially because Coach of the Year and MVP, they're always on, for the most part. I don't think they've ever not been. I mean, I guess, didn't Adrian Peterson win the MVP when they were 8-8 or whatever the record was?
I thought they were like 10-6.
10-6.
They won their last 4 to get in.
That's right. But, usually you've got those players, generally speaking, I think, come from teams that are...
Generally, our quarterback's on winning teams.
Yeah, right, on winning teams. And your coach is somebody that's like, he's Andy Reid-like, or Dan Campbell will certainly get consideration. When you're 12-1, it's hard not to. So...
well, and even all the Darnold discussion about the Darnold Dilemma, I get, like, it's... Especially where we're at, when we're on the radio, you have people on social media. It's fun to speculate about what they should do. There's no urgency to make a decision, right?
No.
It's not like, hey, we got to extend this guy now so that we make sure we have him under our, under contract for a certain amount of time. No, we don't. We have 4 more games and playoff games to get more evidence onto what. Get more information.
Correct.
And then we make that decision at the time. We don't need to make the decision right now.
Well, even on the coach, and the coach is a whole different situation, I think, when you're talking about extending him. Because remember, going into this season, it's the 3rd year of a 4-year deal for both Q-Dubs and Kwesi, right? And they did not get the extension of the 3rd year. Oftentimes, what I've been told is that's kind of when you make your decision. If you're going to, that's when you say, hey, going into year 3, we'll give you a couple more years. You're doing a pretty good job. The Wilfs did not make an extension for either. But I think the difference with a coaching staff in particular, I guess you could say the same for a quarterback. If he really likes the situation, let's say he likes it here, the Vikings get to the divisional round and lose, the Vikings are interested in keeping him, and he'd like to try to see this thing through, there's always that. I would think KOC would be more like a Ben Johnson did with Detroit, where like, well, yeah, I could leave if I wanted to. I could ignore your extension. KOC could say, you know what, I really don't want to extend right now. I think I'll play out the last year. What do you think of that? What he's built here, I don't think he wants to leave any of this. I mean, it is starting to look like, even if they don't win, win the big game, it looks like there's that window for being a competitive team and being in the mix for making a deep run is pretty open right now. But that remains to be seen as well. 5:34 at the top of the hour, and then KOC news conference about 1:15 or so. But Tenneby, what you got for a tease?
Could LeBron James pull a Kevin Durant?